welcome everybody. I'm just chilling this Sunday morning. I want to welcome everybody to Identity Sundays. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope today becomes a blessing for you because I'm all about making sure that our people, our race, our brothers and sisters, every single person comes into the knowledge of the truth. And what better way to do that than to start from our identity, who we are as a people. And I'm excited this beautiful Sunday morning, sitting out here and just chilling with you guys, chilling with you guys. Identity Sunday simply means I'm trying to break down what you identify yourself with, number one, and number two, what you should identify yourself with. Because it's one thing having an idea, a precept that, okay, this is who I am, and it's another thing you finding out who you really are. And that's what Identity Sunday is all about, that you find out who you really are. So welcome on this journey with me. Please don't forget to always send in your questions. I'll always read the questions, and make sure you hit the subscription button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the notification button so that every time we upload a new video, you get yours. And also make sure you tell your friends that we are learning here. We are learning here. So, it's very easy for me to want to quickly go into what is on everybody's list. Everybody is trying to identify themselves with. I'm Shem, I'm this, I'm a descendant of Shem, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. Everybody is trying to identify themselves with one of these identities. And when you step back and take a picture of what everybody is trying to identify themselves with, as you see, everything I say, please forgive my language, okay? Sometimes it just sounds a bit ridiculous, and sometimes it just sounds like we ourselves that we are saying we identify ourselves with certain things don't really pay attention to what we are identifying ourselves with. So people who are outside who we are look at us, and they laugh at us, and they ridicule us more oftentimes, because we are so busy fighting something that we don't even know what it is, or we are so busy trying to identify ourselves with something, or a name, or a group of people, or an ethnicity that we don't necessarily understand who that is, or who that identity is, or why that identity was created. So therefore, oftentimes we find ourselves fighting for things that we have no business fighting for. My point is, I don't need to tell you that I'm a black person, right? And I don't need to tell you that I'm from Ghana. You understand? The minute you see me, I am telling a story. You see why I say I got to stick to the script? But let me say this. The minute you see me, I am telling a story. What story I'm telling, it all depends on the identity I identify myself with, or the thing that I identify myself with, or the history that I identify myself with. But the minute you see me, I shouldn't try to prove to you that I'm a black man. So the human race started from the first man, and if you want to believe science, or you want to believe the scriptures or Genesis, to think that Genesis only started 6,000 years ago, then there would be a lot of unanswered questions. There will be a lot of unanswered questions. So, but if you want to go further and believe in science, then not that science has all the questions. Of course, science doesn't. Science has made a lot of mistakes, right? But at the same time, it is science that made us understand the fact that this world has been in existence for billions of years, right? I'm not saying science poof out of nowhere. No, this knowledge is ancient. This knowledge is coming back from the first man. This knowledge is coming back from ancient Mesopotamia. This knowledge, the Assyrian, and all these great kingdoms that existed before, even way before Egypt, right? So science is only discovering what is already there. Science is not inventing or creating. Science is, we all know this. I don't need to talk about this, but if we should go with science, then you want to believe that the earth is been in existence for billions of years. And if the earth has been in existence for billions of years, then it means that human beings as we know it has been in existence for more than 6,000 years. I mean, when you study certain portions of the scriptures, we will come back. This is just an introduction to Identity Sunday, so don't worry, we're here to learn. When we go and dissect into the existence of man before Bible terminology, Adam, then you would understand that man has been in existence for at least 100,000 years, right? 100,000 years. But what we can sort of have accuracy as in where the first man was and the movement of the first people on the face of the, which of course we all know is a black man, right? I mean, who doesn't know this fact? This is history. It's out there. Like everybody knows that the first man was a black man. It's not news. This is not news. So when you identify yourself with a particular group of people that existed on the face of this earth, then it means that you are literally cutting yourself away from those that existed before. It means that you're literally cutting yourself from the first men. The first men are those who migrated into. You see, when you study history, you understand that the movement of the earliest population started from Africa and started moving, migrating to the rest of the world. When you take China, China was first populated by the black man. When you take India, India was first populated by the black man. When you take Australia, Australia was first populated by the black man. When you take the Americas was first populated by the black man. As a matter of fact, was the first person to sail the seas. The black man was the first person to sail the seas, and this is beyond 6,000 years. You understand? This fact is beyond 6,000 years. This is thousands of, at least 22,000 years ago. At least 22,000 years ago. So when you talk about the origination of man and where man came from, it goes beyond what most of us are used to. But I want to bring our studies a little down. Let's bring ourselves down to the subject of Shem, because Shem is the one that most people the called, or the awoken ones, those that are awake, try to identify themselves with. And you know the crowd I talk to, so I want to limit myself to that. Not that I don't know any better, but let's just limit ourselves to Shem, right? And let's go back to Shem. So basically, when you are going back to Shem, it means that you believe without a doubt that the father was Noah. The only problem here is that, according to history, you understand? And anybody that would say, I don't believe in history, it means that nobody will believe in your existence. Nobody will believe in a thing that you are doing here. Because few hundred years to come, nobody will remember you. It's only things that are documented, things that are put down that would cause people to remember. So when we talk about history, people go like, but the Bible says, no. History is basically what happened before us coming into this dimension. You understand? And whether you want to believe it or not, things were documented way before the Bible. Whether you want to believe it or not, this is, Identity Sunday is not limited to Christianity, or it's not limited to Scripture. It's broad. We want to talk about the truth behind the truth. We want to uncover things that has been hidden. That's the whole point of bringing your way Identity Sunday. So let's go back into time, and let's go back into. Wait. Let me come back. Let me come back to Shem, right? So all of us are getting the story of Shem from the Bible, from Genesis. So let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis, and let's see what Genesis is saying about Shem, right? But then again, then you believe that Shem's father. So I'm using Shem because these are the names you know. I'll come back to the names later. But when you believe that Shem was, Noah was the father of Shem, the fact is that historically, nobody exists called Noah who built any ark. Ooh. I'm here again saying things that nobody wants to hear, right? I'm here again saying things that, but listen, just read, just research. And I need you to Google the name. Menu is spelled M-A-N-U. Menu and the Ark. Menu and the Ark. And why I started talking about the fact that the black man has populated all these places, because when you go and read about Menu and the Ark, you would know that Menu is the original name of the one that built the boat, the Ark, that saved a few men or a few people that during the flood age, right? So the original name was Menu. When you want to break down the name Menu, there's a tribe that gives a name Menu, and that tribe is the Akan tribe. I don't know any language on the face of the earth that names their children Menu. If you know, please educate me. Let me know, right? So the great ancestor that everybody want to claim that, okay, he was the one that saved humanity when the flood came, was actually a man called Menu, a man with an identity, a man identified as an Akan man. You can read it and check which group of people on the face of the earth that gives the name Menu. You see, when you are able to identify the name, you would identify the language of the person that had the name, right? Or the group of people, that named that particular name Menu. So when you search the language of the people called Menu, you'd come across the name or the people or the language Akan. This means that Akan language or the Chi language, or let me make it Akan to make it broader. The Akan language goes beyond what most people know it to be. So if Noah was speaking the Akan language and Noah was an Akan man, it means all the children of Noah were Akans. Hence, the reason why after the flood, when they started migrating, certain people of the Akans went to settle in India. So therefore, when you Google the name Menu, it will tell you, or it will take you back to Indian mythology, right? Indian mythology, and it will say that Menu is an ancient or an old Indian ancestor that saved the people from the flood. But wait a minute, why? You talk about India and you talk about Akan. Yes, because most people don't even know that Krishna was a black man. So the first images of Krishna, when you go to India, this is a fact. I'm not making these things up. When you go to India, you realize that all the ancient statues all had black faces. Let's go to China. When you go to China, you realize that all the ancient statues of Buddha all have black faces. Why? Because Buddha was a black man. Ooh, I bet. And you see, one of the ancient history on the face of the earth is that of the Indian and that of the Chinese, right? If these two were black people, this should tell you how far the black race go. Now, this is very important because when we go into the genealogy of the descendants of Noah, Menu, but you know Noah, so let me just say Noah because of the name you are familiar with, but Menu, right? When you check his genealogy, the people who followed after, you realize that the Chinese came after him, or the Chinese came from him. The original Chinese men, not what we have today. The original Indian men. The Americas were occupied by blacks. Forget about all these lies they tell you about Native Americans were red Indians. No, these were blacks. So the black men populated the European regions and the American regions and the Australian regions. That's why even up to date, when you go to Australia, there are still black people in there that have never seen a white man before. Ain't that something? A black person in Australia that have never seen they are there. They exist. So when you understand this, you realize that, wait a minute, the history of the world is not all incorporated in the Bible. Because one thing you got to understand is that it was Moses that wrote what he studied. Ooh, what do you mean? What do you mean Moses wrote down what he studied from Egypt? How on earth do you expect a man to be a prince in Egypt according to scriptures, right? How on earth do you expect a man to be a prince in Egypt and not study anything? How? Oh, you want proof from me? Okay, let me show you the writing style of Genesis. You realize that anytime an idea is about to be introduced, they give a little clue in the above verses before the idea itself is introduced. So that when you finally get to the idea, you realize that, okay, this is what it was talking about earlier. Because what? The idea is introduced in the first verses, right? This is all about identity. We're just trying to find out who we are. Right? Okay. So let's go to the scriptures and let me find this for you. I'm not going to take a lot of time on Identity Sunday, so I'll be as fast as I can. So let me show you something. What? Let me show you what I'm talking about. So Genesis 9:1 says what? So the Most High blessed Noah and his sons. Menu, remember the original name is Menu, not Noah. Noah is not traced in history to any group of people or any language. Which language speaks? You see, you should know that names were formed out of languages. Names were formed out of language. You name a person according to the language. So show me the ancient language that named people Noah. Come on. Let's show me. And the ancient language that named people Noah. Show me. Right? You won't find it anyways. So let's go to so the Most High blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So he blessed Noah, the Most High blessed Noah and his sons and told his sons, be fruitful and multiply and fill the entire earth. Are you getting it? The Most High blessed Noah and his sons. This is not me. This is the scriptures. We all have this. It says, he blessed Noah and his sons and said to Noah, be fruitful and multiply. So what was the duty and assignment of Noah and his sons? Not a son. Are you getting this? Not a son. Not a son chosen out of the other sons. Bless his sons, Noah and his sons, and say, be fruitful and fill the earth, right? And fear, so it went ahead and gave laws, which we'll come back to these laws later. We'll come back to these laws later, right? So let's jump to, so the Most High has blessed Noah. Let's jump to 18. The Most High has blessed Noah and his sons, right? The 18 says, now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark. Remember, no longer again will the earth be cursed, right? So the earth that you stand will not be cursed because Noah has offered up a sacrifice, and the sacrifice has appeased the Most High. And the Most High is saying, no longer should I, you know this, I don't need to read it, let me save time. No longer would I curse the earth, right? So 18 says, now the sons of Noah went out of the ark. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham became the father of the Canaan. Remember, I told you whenever anybody want to inject an idea in scripture, they first, how the scripture was written, when they want to inject an idea and you realize that this idea is not an idea of the Most High, they give you a clue, right? Now they mention all the sons and they didn't say anything about any of the children of the sons, but immediately it goes and says what? Now, Ham became the father of Canaan. And Ham became the father of Canaan. Wait a minute. Why didn't they say, and so became the father of, and Shem became the father of so and so? Or Japheth became the father of so and so? Because they were not the key interest, they were not the subject of the agenda, the idea that it was going to be implemented. There was an idea, and they had to introduce the idea before they go on to tell you the story. So when you come and fall into the story, you identify the idea. So now wherever you read Ham, something is coming up. Because they've introduced Ham became the father of Canaan. Let's not go there, and I'll break it down. But let's continue. These were the three sons of Noah. And from these, the whole earth was populated. And Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant his vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. So he became uncovered in his tent. You see, key things are very important. This man became uncovered in his tent. He's in his tent. He doesn't need to come out. How many times have you gotten drunk in your house? Now you did silly stuff that nobody had to see. But then again, because he's in his tent and his sons are allowed to go into his house, right? So it's only normal that you would. Let's go on. I'm not drawing your attention to certain things. and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan. So it comes again. Ham, the father of Canaan. They are hammering an idea to your head. Now, the next episode, I'll come down, or the next couple of episodes, I don't know which one I'll come down, but I'll come down and show you how a nation is formed, and how an identity is created. Okay, how an identity is created. And you'll get to realize that this whole idea of nations is a few hundred years old. The idea of nations, I'm identified to this nation, I'm identified to this nation, I'm from this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, I'm Congolese, I'm Angolan, I'm Kenyan, I'm Zimbabwean, I'm Australian and American, and I'm British, I'm Canadian, I'm this, I'm that. This is just a few hundred years ago. A few hundred years ago. This idea is not ancient. So in the ancient times, there was nothing like I'm Ghanaian, or I'm this, or I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, because they didn't believe in these systems. These systems is very current. So when you identify yourself with I'm Ghanaian, I'm Congolese, I'm Nigerian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, you are only identifying yourself to a modern system which is so different from an ancient system. You get it. Listen, the next episodes, you understand what I'm saying. So these were the sons, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. So why? The two brothers were waiting outside to see if Ham saw what's going on here. That's not a subject of interest. Let's move on. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the father's nakedness, right? But Shem and Japheth took garments, laid it on both their shoulders, went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Ham and Japheth did not see the father's nakedness, but Shem and Japheth did not see the father's nakedness, but Ham saw the father's name. Ham, the father of Canaan. They've already painted a picture, the father of Canaan. They've already brought a separation between the children. But when the Most High was blessing them, he blessed the entire children. The Most High didn't say, and this, and this. And the Most High blessed the entire. So you read that the idea of separation is man-made and not an original idea of the Most High. You should know a man can make an idea and put it in and just oppose it in the mouth of the Most High and say, the Most High is saying this. If I come right now and say the Most High is saying that everyone that has a beard is a true descendant, it's an idea I am putting in the spectrum of the Most High. Because nobody has really heard the Most High say anything to anybody in a way. It's always one person coming out to say the Most High is saying this. Let's go on. Let's go on. Noah woke from his wine and knew that the younger son had done what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan." Remember, the Most High just said, no longer should the earth be cursed, or the people of the earth be cursed, right? Now Noah comes to curse the son. Wait a minute. So it means regardless of what the Most High has said, that his sons are going to multiply and fill the earth, the father's curse can cancel out the word of the Most High. Oh, wait, somebody will tell me, you don't understand. I don't understand spirituality, right? So I have no clue what I'm talking about. So it means the curse of Noah should hold and work, right? Okay, let's continue. Remember this part, that the curse of Noah should work. So let's read the curse. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a slave of servant. It shall be to his brothers." And he said, "Blessed be Yahweh, the father of Shem. May Canaan be his servant." So the curse is that Canaan is supposed to be the servant of Shem. That is the curse. As soon as they move ahead, we should see Canaan serving Ham. That's what we should see, right? Nothing else. than that. We should see that indeed of the truth, Canaan is serving Shem. Wait a minute. But Ham is the one that did the sin, but now Canaan, his son, is the one being enslaved to Shem. What happened to Ham? But anyways, I don't understand anything, right? Let's go on. May the Most High, so blessed be the Yah of Shem, may Canaan be his servant. Canaan, a son of Ham. So Ham was not cursed because the Most High is blessed. Let's continue. May the Most High enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tent of Shem. So Japheth is supposed to dwell in the tent of Shem. May Canaan be his servant. So what did Canaan do? I told you earlier on, they were introducing an idea. So out of nowhere, they mentioned the name Canaan, who was the son of Ham, because they are going to inject an idea for you to believe this idea. So Canaan is supposed to be the servant of Shem and Japheth, though their brother Ham did the sin. That's okay. Let's continue. Now Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years and he died. Mind you, it doesn't mean he died and the story continued. The story still continued while Noah was still alive. Menu, which is the actual name. Now these are the begottens of the sons of Noah. So now, all of a sudden, after they've only introduced one son, which is Canaan, it means that, listen, this is telling you a story. This is presenting to you a story. And the writer of this story is choosing which should come when and what should come at what time. Because the writer has an idea, has a concept, and he's building on the concept, right? Okay, let's continue. Now, these are the begottens of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the sons were born to them after the first. So sons were born to all these three sons. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madiah, Yavin, Tubal, Meshach, Taras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, right? So the Ashkenaz became the father of the Ashkenazis, which out of that we have now the Ashkenazi Jew. So the Ashkenazi Jew, according to the genealogy that I'm reading, is a son of Manu, or you say Noah. And Noah already blessed the Ashkenazi Jew, or the Ashkenaz, or the Ashkenazis. So the Ashkenazis are blessed according to this scenario. Right? And the Ashkenazis are the descendants of Japheth. And Japheth was a blessed one, and Canaan was the cursed one. But Ham is the one that did this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's continue. I'm just speaking gibberish, right? The sons of Gomer was Ashkenaz, Raphat, and Togarmah. The sons of Yavin were Elisha, Tarsus, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastline Gentile. So all of us that introduce another idea. From these, the Gentile people. Wait a minute. We are so at the early stages. Where is this idea from these, the Gentile people were separated from their land? Who is calling them Gentile? Because these were all blessed sons of Noah. So who is now calling them Gentiles? Again, it's introducing an idea to you. Okay, let me continue. Gentile people were separated into their lands, and everyone according to his own language, according to their families, into their nations. So wait a minute. At this time, I believe a Gentile is the person that did not believe, right? So at this time, who was believing what? who was believing what, and who was serving who. Because all these people, no other service is introduced at this time apart from all these people being descendants of Noah. Therefore, men, therefore doing everything that Noah did, right? So why is it that all of a sudden we have this thing called the Gentiles that is being introduced here? Separated. So the idea of separation, I've said it already, is coming from man, not from the Most High. Knowledge is beautiful. Okay. From the coastlines to their families into their nations. 6. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Now, it is believed that Canaan was the cursed one. Don't forget Canaan. This is not the original spelling of Canaan, C-A-N-A-A-N. No. Nan. We'll come to that. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabbath, Ramah, Sabtechah. The sons of Ramah were Sheba, Dedan. Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. So Nimrod became a mighty one on the earth, right? Okay. He began to be a mighty man. He was a tyrant who deceived. So all of a sudden, an idea is introduced again. Now Nimrod was a tyrant who deceived, who turned against Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the tyrant who deceived, who is injecting this, because up to now, nobody has spoken about any separation of the worship of the Most High. So all of a sudden, characters are being created here. Already we've seen Ham, right? Who is the father of Canaan? So Canaan, the descendants of Japheth, are described as Gentiles, right? Nimrod is described the deceiver, who deceived and turned people against the Most High. When was any idea introduced, or when was any? All we know was Noah worshiped the Most High, so automatically all his children worship. Where did or when did any of his children went wrong? It's not, nothing of that is said. All of a sudden, the ideas is dropped. Bam, bam, bam. In the scriptures. Now, I'm not talking about other books, because I know there exist other books and other informations are in other books, but let's come to scripture. This scripture. You see, when you start asking questions like this, you would know that some of the things you believed for a long time is actually nothing for you. Let me not say that. Let me not say that. And the beginning of the kingdom, and the beginning of the kingdoms was Babel, Iraq, Akkad, and all of them in the land of Shinar, that is Babylon. So all of a sudden, the beginning of the kingdoms. So the idea of nations was not still bet at this time, because it's very modern, right? Okay. From the land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Kala, and reasoned between Nineveh and Khaled, which is the principal city. Mizraim begat Ludim, Aminim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim. Does it sound familiar? Nephilim, Naphtuhim. Who am I? Let me not go there. Okay, so let me continue. Patruzim, Kaos Luhim, from whom came the Philistines and the cat through him. Canaan begat Sedom, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusites, the Amorites, So all of a sudden, Canaan is giving birth to all the people that became the enemies to Israel. Canaan, the same idea that was introduced in chapter 9. Remember, this was the first character that was introduced to chapter 9, right? Because it is building, it is giving you an idea why all of a sudden we have all these enemies, right? Mind you, the one that was writing this account already knew where the enemies or who their enemies were. So all of a sudden, need to find a story that distinct or separates them from the enemies and therefore count them why they are now the enemies. Do you get how this whole thing was written? Okay. Yeah, we say Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Shinites, the Avadites, the Zemarites, and Hamathites. Afterward, the families of Canaan were dispersed. So after this, the families of, and the borders of Canaanites was from Sidon as you go towards Gibeah as far as Gaza. Then you go to it goes on and on. But my point is that, so Ham was not really cursed. So why are all these people claiming that Ham, when you come from the descendant of Ham, you are cursed? Where's that idea coming from? Because according to what we just read, Ham is not cursed. Okay. And Canaan is supposed to serve. So therefore, it was right that the descendant of Ham moved on to become the great nations and the great kingdoms. Oh yes. You didn't know that? That all those who came out of Ham all of a sudden became great and mighty. Except Canaan, because they needed to create an enemy for the idea that is going to be introduced right from the beginning. Mind you, we never heard of any Amorites, Hittites, what all these Hittites, we never heard of them till a nation was born and needed an enemy. How come Shem, that was supposed to be the blessed one, all of a sudden tables turn and become a slave to everyone? Canaan was the one that was supposed to be a slave. Well, everybody is claiming to come from the descendants of Ham, descendant of Shem, right? Because everybody is claiming that Shem was the blessed one. So if Shem was the blessed one, Shem is supposed to go ahead and do great things and become great. Why is it all of a sudden Shem becomes the one that later on becomes the slave of the world? Hence why the descendant of Shem, being all the way coming to Israel, became slave in Egypt. And hence Judah becomes slave of the world. Who was cursed here? Make me understand it. Oh, but the descendants of Shem became the people of the Most High. And so therefore, because they disobeyed the Most High only cursed them. But yet everybody else went ahead to become great. Are you getting what I'm saying? Listen, my time is up. I got to go. I'll continue next week. But listen, what I need you to know, it's time you study yourself. It's time you ask these questions. It's time you know where you are coming from. Because the so-called people that everybody is claiming curse brought science, brought mathematics, brought surgery, brought architecture, brought every blessed thing we know on the face of the earth today. The same people, the same descendants of Ham that are supposed to be the cursed ones, right, are the ones that engineered, basically, both scientifically and mathematically and economically, engineered the survival of this entire existence. The so-called descendants of Ham that are supposed to be the cursed ones are the ones that brought spirituality. Wait a minute, what is he saying? It's time we study. It's time we go back to our identity. We find out who we are. Hence the reason for Identity Sundays. Stay blessed. I'll see you same time next week. I love you guys. Please share the video. This is only the beginning, mind you. Stay blessed.